1. When I was doing part-time work at college, I met Logan, a rich and powerful guy from an influential family in Beijing. He really went all out when he was trying to win me over. Over the years, I remained the only girlfriend he gave a proper title to. But after about a year, he clearly lost interest in me. The last time we met, he didn't even bother getting out of the car. He just rolled down the window slightly. "Nancy, wake up. The game is over." After I left, Logan didn't seem to care at all. Until one night drunk, he hugged the girl next to him and said, "Nancy, still know the way home, huh?" Later, he traveled a long way to my small town to attend my wedding. Throughout the whole thing, he was polite and chatted comfortably. But when the groom kissed the bride, Logan was sitting there and crushed the glass in his hand. That was the last night I spent with Logan. At the time, I had no clue he had decided he didn't want me anymore. When he opened a new box of condoms, I naively felt delighted. Delighted that even after a year, we were still head over heels in love. I watched him from my pillow, my eyes filled with happiness and love. Logan looked back, a bit startled when he caught my gaze. I asked, all smiles, "Why are you in such a good mood tonight? Isn't it because someone dressed up and came to pick me up late at night, trying to seduce me?" He had a faint smile and leaned in to kiss me. I wrapped my arms around his neck, grinning mischievously. "Do you like it? What do you think?" He held my chin and kissed me deeply and intensely. I almost couldn't breathe. Logan finally let go. He looked down at me, his fingers brushing over my slightly swollen lips. "Nancy." It took a moment for me, breathless and dazed, to look at him. That moment, Logan seemed incredibly gentle. He didn't say anything else, just smiled. When he kissed my eyelids, our bodies were deeply in sync. "Logan." I held his strong arm tightly. Maybe it was too much happiness or some intuition. A wave of inexplicable sadness rose in my heart, and tears just fell from my eyes. "Nancy." He supported my thin back, pulling me closer. "Don't cry." After that night, I didn't see Logan for a whole month. One Friday morning with no classes, I was lying on my dorm bed, opening and closing WeChat again and again, disappointed. Cindy on the next bed couldn't hold back. "Nancy, you haven't seen him this whole month, right? You should either get a lot of cash or use his connections to stay in Beijing. He's genuinely busy." Cindy sat up, frustrated. "I told you from the start, these second or third generation guys never really mean it. Other girls get houses and cars, but you settle for morning dumplings. Driving from Dongxiamen takes 2 hours. He did it for 6 months straight." I mumbled softly, thinking about the past, and a sweet sense filled my heart. Logan, such a high-status guy, could easily buy people off with money. If he treated me like that, I wouldn't have cared. But I'm weak when someone genuinely treats me well. Cindy said sarcastically, "He didn't get what he wanted. Of course he was attentive. It's been less than a year, and he's already tired of you." Is he really tired? I recalled our last meeting a month ago, thinking it was just a short separation. Now looking back, something felt off. That night, Logan wasn't his usual self. "Nancy, you need to think it through. We're out of our league here. You can't get nothing out of it. Get either money or a future." Cindy lay back down after speaking. I opened WeChat, dazed, the chat still frozen a week ago. "Logan, how long will you be busy?" He hadn't replied. I couldn't help it and sent another message. "Logan, are we breaking up?" When my message came through, Logan was at the poker table. His luck wasn't great today, and he was annoyed. He glanced at WeChat and tossed the phone aside. Alex, drawing cards, asked, "Nancy again?" Logan lit a cigarette, holding it in the corner of his mouth. "Young girls can't read the room. Sure, your past flings were sharp. Just give them the cold shoulder, and they'd cry a bit then leave with cash." Alex looked up. "Why not just tell her if you're really over it?" Logan tossed out a card, nonchalant. "She's young. Don't want her doing anything rash. Let's wait it out." Still got a soft spot, huh?" Logan chuckled. "I do like her, but that's it. If you really like her, keep her around. You can afford it." Logan didn't respond, eventually seeing Nancy's stubborn face. She might be small, with no backup or connections, but she's got a fierce streak. If he dared propose keeping her around as a mistress, she'd probably hit him with an ashtray. I next spotted Logan at a grand shopping center opening. I was dressed as Minnie Mouse, playing games with kids. Logan appeared with a young socialite. She seemed to like Minnie, walking straight to me. Logan, take a pic of me with Minnie. I stared at Logan, but he just briefly glanced at me, then casually took pictures of the girl. When done, he pulled out his wallet and handed me a wad of cash. Thanks for your work. I held the cash, watching them leave arm in arm. Soon, they were surrounded by staff and guards and disappeared from view. 2. Cindy looked at me with concern. Nancy, are you all right? I glanced at the thick wad of pink bills in my hand, and somehow managed to smile at Cindy. Capitalists, what can you say? A single tip over $1,000, huh? Cindy's eyes were a bit red. Nancy, if you want to cry, just let it out. I refused to cry, stubbornly grinning. Cindy, he can't treat me like this. Nancy, please don't do anything stupid. I'm not doing anything stupid. I just want a clear explanation, even if we're breaking up. I sent a message to Logan, saying I needed to see him tonight no matter what. He still didn't reply. But then at 10 p.m., his assistant called. Miss Nancy, Mr. Logan is in the basement. You can come now. When I went there, Logan didn't even get out of the car. Just rolled the window down a bit on his fancy Bentley van. The half-lit shadows played over his indifferent eyes, making him seem almost like a stranger, kind of scary even. Cindy had warned me from the start, but I naively thought I'd be the exception. Today was a rude awakening. Why did I think I was special? Even if I were drop-dead gorgeous, they'd get bored. And I'm just cute. I walked up to the car and stood still. Logan's gaze fell on my face, devoid of warmth. Nancy, it's over. Wake up. Turns out, I thought there was at least some genuine feeling there. Like I was different from the others. But now it's clear, I'm not much more special. I just wanted to know, all the effort he put in when he was chasing me, was it just strategy to win a game? I stepped closer, my eyes stinging as if they were on fire. So Logan, was it fun? He glanced at me, then moved his eyes away indifferently. The property up north will be yours. If you want to stay in Beijing, I'll help with the paperwork for residency. Logan, playing with someone's feelings like this. Is it fun? Logan looked a bit impatient, frowning slightly. If you're not satisfied, you can give my assistant a list of what you want. Alex got out of the passenger seat, lit a cigarette, and chipped in. Nancy, take your winnings and move on. You can't get a better deal. A better deal? I thought about that college girl Alex dated before. She had several abortions, and when he got bored and broke up with her, she couldn't take it and tried to take her own life. Alex gave her parents $1 million and squared things away. No one blamed him. They thought she was just dumb. But I knew how foolishly in love Lily was. Looking at Alex's obnoxious face made me want to rip him apart. Those guys were all equally gross. Maybe because I was staring at Alex, Logan suddenly cleared his throat. Nancy, my assistant will contact you tomorrow. No need, I smiled. I don't want any of that. But I have one condition. Logan raised an eyebrow. Go on. I smirked and looked at Alex again. He seemed startled. What the hell, Nancy? Why were you looking at me like that? We're over, right? We leave each other alone, right? Logan nodded, but his face was cold. Of course. I pointed at Alex. So can I pursue him? Logan didn't say anything, but his eyes grew colder. Alex was completely thrown for a loop. Wait, Nancy, what the hell are you playing at? Alex is young, handsome, charming and sweet. Makes me happy. I really think you're great. Nancy, knock it off. Are you crazy? When'd I ever make you happy? Alex was clueless. You forgot? Let me remind you. Explain yourself, Nancy. I'm warning you, don't try to drag me down. Even a dog could see how furious Logan was getting. And Alex was genuinely scared of him, terrified since they were kids. This summer, we went to the Cloud Club. I wore a red strappy dress. Alex turned pale. Nancy, stop. Keep going. Logan gave Alex a cold glance. Bro. Alex's face was ghostly, and he was trembling, unable to stop me. You were outside smoking, talking to some guy. Said my skin was fair, my waist was slim, legs straight. Looked good in red. If I wasn't with Logan, you'd hook up with me. Logan suddenly chuckled. Alex, is she telling the truth? Bro, I was drunk. Just talking nonsense, not thinking straight. Seems she is telling the truth. Logan lowered his gaze, methodically adjusting his sleeve. His tone was calm, almost serene. Alex, you've got some nerve. Bro, I swear, I was just drunk. Alex was on the brink of tears. I smiled, throwing a little gasoline on the fire. Alex, since you like me, will you accept if I go after you? Accept my ass. Alex was losing it. Come on, lady, cut me some slack. It was just drunk talk. If you keep this up, the boss'll kill me. I watched him in silence for a while, my smile growing more and more mocking, until it was pure sarcasm. Alex, you're such a coward. Pathetic. Alex nearly exploded from anger. Nancy, what do you want from me? I didn't want anything. Didn't even care anymore. I didn't look at him or Logan again. Guys like them trample over people's genuine feelings like trash. They're all the same, complete garbage. Nothing to linger over. Nothing to be sad about. But Lily deserved better. 3. I'm just an ordinary person, and can't really do much against these rich kids. At most, I can just annoy Alex a little. I turned and walked towards the elevator, getting faster with each step, and never looking back. Not until the elevator doors closed. Only then did a single tear finally fall from my eye. Logan sat in the car, emotionless, not showing any signs of anger. He absent-mindedly fiddled with a lighter, while Alex kept rambling outside the car. Logan wasn't really listening, just thought it was a bit noisy. Third brother, I get it now, Alex said. Nancy did it on purpose. She was trying to stir things up between us. I admit I said some stupid things when I was drunk. But third brother, you know I never filter what I say. Alex was like a cat that had its tail stepped on, getting all flustered. From the first time he met Nancy, he knew she wasn't easy. She seemed small, but she was a force to be reckoned with. He shouldn't have let himself get captivated, giving her leverage over him. If Logan were truly to shun him because of this, just thinking about it made Alex anxious. Third brother, say something. Logan remained silent throughout, genuinely uncertain. He would have preferred to get scolded or even slapped around a bit. It would have been comforting in a way. Third brother. Logan suddenly tossed the lighter into the console compartment. He looked at Alex with his emotionless eyes, which inexplicably sent a chill down Alex's spine. Alex, why do you mess with her? Logan even chuckled. If you have the guts to do it, then you'll have to handle it yourself. With that, he instructed the driver to drive off. Alex was stunned, utterly shocked. Third brother, what do you mean by this? You can't seriously be pushing me away over something like this. Alex chased the car a bit, looking quite pitiful, but Logan ignored him. He wouldn't turn against Alex over this. It would be absurd and childish. He just didn't want to see him for a while. And that was that. The car moved steadily forward, leaving the parking lot and merging into the vibrant night of Beijing. Logan, for some reason, thought again of Nancy's demeanor from before. That small young woman had such intense fire he didn't understand. Leaning back on the car seat, he slowly closed his eyes. She was even more tenacious and fierce than he thought. All the while, she never shed a tear. Her walking away so decisively was truly something. But maybe it was for the best. It would make things cleaner this way. Logan believed in cutting losses before they got worse. Because if he kept seeing Nancy, he was afraid he wouldn't want to let go. If it got to that stage, it might just cause quite an uproar. Something neither he nor the Whites would want to see. I deleted everything related to Logan. Later, Logan's assistant called me a few times. I ignored it, hung up, and blocked the number. After a while they stopped trying. Cindy was furious, almost wanting to slap some sense into me. How can you be so stupid? Really not going to take anything? She yelled. A man worth billions and not even a crumb for you, Nancy? While packing my suitcase, I calmly replied, I never wanted wealth or fame. Plus, if I stay in Beijing, I can get an opportunity on my own. But I don't like Beijing, and I don't want to stay, I continued. My parents aren't short on money. We own 3 houses back in our hometown. I added, I'm not dirt poor, so why would I take anything from him? So you're just going to let him off the hook after a year? No compensation? I finished putting my suitcase away and looked at Cindy calmly. Cindy, when I was with him for that year, I was genuinely in love. Now we're not suitable and broke up. It's normal, and I don't need any compensation. Neither Cindy nor I could convince each other, so we let the subject drop. Nancy, are you really going back home? Cindy asked a bit reluctantly. Can't you stay? You'd have better prospects here. No, I'm not staying. My dad isn't well, and I'm their only child. I want to go home and take care of them. A city like Beijing, with its endless dazzle, can truly make someone lose themselves. I wasn't even sure if I'd stay true to my current thoughts. If I stayed and faced difficulties, I might regret not taking a chunk of money when we parted. Leaving it all behind felt easier. On the day I left Beijing, it was the hottest part of summer. Cindy cried a river while seeing me off. Heartless. You're leaving so far. It'll be nearly impossible to hang out. She cried. Stop crying. Do your best in Beijing, I urged. I'm just going home to relax, not going to stress. Cindy, red-eyed, looked at me for a long time, then suddenly said, Nancy, if you want to cry, just do it. I won't laugh. My smile slowly crumbled, eventually unable to hold back my emotions. I tried to hold it in, but tears fell uncontrollably. Cindy stayed quiet, just hugged me tightly. Take care of yourself, okay? She said. Find a man who loves you fiercely. I nodded repeatedly, okay, I'll be cautious. If I'm wrong again, you fly over and sock me one. Cindy laughed through her tears. You always have a comeback. Once on the plane, I suddenly found a bank card in my pocket. No doubt, Cindy must have slipped it in when I wasn't paying attention. A text showed up on my phone. Nancy, the card is from him. He asked me to give it to you. Password's your birthday. Cindy didn't say who he was, but it wasn't hard to guess. I looked at that black card in my hand. 4. My heart is crawling with pain deep inside. In my eyes, it was a year-long relationship. In his eyes, in the end, it was just a transaction. If putting a period on it is what he needs to be at peace, then I'll let him have it. I didn't give back the card, nor did I toss it. I just put it away, never to touch it again. After going back home, I lay around for a month. My parents eventually pulled me up to study and take exams. My family suggested I become a teacher. You know, it's steady work for a girl. Life moved on in its routine. Slow like water but peaceful. That relationship that once kept me awake at night seems to have faded from my mind. Sometimes when chatting with Cindy, I might think of Logan. But soon after I'd brush it aside. The one who left, I won't dwell on anymore. One night, just before winter, a strange number called. I answered but nobody spoke, there was only silence. That silence lasted about 3 seconds before the call ended. I didn't give it much thought. When I got home and finished showering, there was a new message on my phone. It was from the same number. Just a simple line, Nancy, happy birthday. I stared at the screen for a moment. Cold water droplets suddenly fell on the screen. Maybe it was water dripping from my hair. I snapped back to reality and didn't reply. I just deleted the message and blocked the number. But that night I couldn't sleep. I didn't drift off until it was almost dawn. Since breaking up, I'd never dreamed of Logan until that night. He was taking me out to eat with his friends. After eating, they all played cards. Alex said something to provoke me. I picked up a beer bottle and chased him with it. Alex stomped his foot, complained that Logan wasn't reining me in. Logan lounged on the sofa with a hint of a smile, shaking his head, slightly helpless. Why do you provoke her? You brought it on yourself. That year, he really spoiled me and was indulgent. So much so that dreaming about the past made me smile. But when I woke up, my pillow was wet. Logan used to hate winter. Dry and cold, he'd always catch a bad cold. But later, he thought winter wasn't so bad. Because when winter began, it was Nancy's birthday. He celebrated it once while they were together. He remembered the earnest way she made her wish. Very sincere, very devout. Later, when they were tangled together, he asked what her wish was. She lay in his arms, long hair cascading over his arm. I'll tell you one of them. Go on. From now on, you have to spend every birthday with me. Back then, feelings were intense, and they had just been intimate. Naturally, his heart was soft. He agreed without thinking. She seemed especially happy. Gave him several kisses while hugging him. He coaxed her into trying things she wouldn't normally do. It was so delightful, so memorable. So much so a year later, he still remembered her birthday. Remembered everything that happened this day last year. At first, after breaking up, he didn't think much of it. In his younger days, he'd met girls he liked a lot. Breaking up was hard, but he moved on eventually. He thought this time would be the same. until after rounds of drinks and festivities died down. When he was drunk and dazed, everyone's face around him turned to Nancy's. Round almond eyes, slightly upturned at the corners, a bit youthful. Yet her eyebrows were thick, hinting at her strong temper. When he first pursued her, she barely paid him any mind. So proud. Later, when she loved him, she was like a blazing fire in a gentle spring. Sometimes fierce, sometimes soft. Made him love and hate her. He'd known all along she was stubborn. He didn't expect her to return. But now it seemed, she was here for the wish made on her last birthday. He reached out to hold her, surprised that she didn't push him away. Considering her stubbornness, she should have pushed back and maybe slapped him. But she simply let him hold her. Logan felt all his irritation and emptiness fade away. He ruffled her hair, his voice heavy with drunkenness. "Nancy, you found your way back home." He gently pulled her into an embrace, resting his chin on her thin shoulder, brushing his face against her hair. Closing his eyes, he murmured, "Now that you're back, don't leave. Let's be together properly." The following summer, our family celebrated two big events. I passed my exams successfully and was about to start a new job. Also, I got engaged with the wedding set for the fall. My fiancé Rain said autumn was perfect, neither too hot nor too cold. We could have the outdoor lawn wedding I wanted, and I could wear all the pretty dresses I liked. Fall did sound nice to me too. Rain was 5 years older than me. His family was eager, and my dad's health had been poor. He wanted to see me settled with a family. So the wedding was set. When I got engaged to Rain, Cindy came too. After the engagement party, Cindy pulled me aside. "This one's good. I've been observing him closely. He's completely focused on you. Even when he's talking to someone else, his eyes follow you. If he hasn't seen you for 2 minutes, he starts looking around. He's good-looking, gentle, reliable, and has a promising career." Cindy ticked off the points one by one. I watched her with a smile, feeling a sense of peace and tranquility. Yeah, isn't this what normal love and marriage are all about? Finding someone gentle, building a family. Ordinary but enduring. At the end, Cindy suddenly asked, "But Nancy, do you like him?" I was taken aback. Do I like him? 5. Honestly, he's the perfect marriage material in my parents' eyes. Everyone who cares about me is thrilled with him. Even I feel like meeting someone like him through a blind date is incredibly lucky. But do I really like him? I can't help but glance at Rain. He's had quite a bit to drink, and is chatting with the older generation. The moment I look over, he notices. Our eyes meet and he grins. Then, after a few words with the elders, he walks towards me. "Nancy, are you feeling unwell from the drinks?" Rain asks, concerned while holding my hand. I shake my head, letting him interlace his fingers with mine. Cindy smiles behind her hand, and I smile too. Maybe I haven't fallen for him yet. But we have a whole lifetime ahead of us. The wedding day is getting closer by the day. I've gradually moved a lot of my stuff to the marital home. Rain is clearly on cloud 9. Maybe it's because we've spent so much time together. It seems like some feelings are developing. Compared to when we got engaged, I'm much happier now. On the wedding day, the weather was absolutely perfect. Both sets of parents were in great spirits with not a hint of conflict. In our small town, the usual dowry is 188,000 yuan. But Rain gave me 666,000 along with gold jewelry worth about 100,000. While my parents and I don't value these things particularly, the fact that Rain's family treasures their daughter so much makes them overjoyed. My parents topped it up to 1 million, gave the dowry back to us, and bought a watch for Rain worth 70,000 to 80,000. Both families got along great, discussing and laughing often. I sat on the side eating fruit while Rain patiently and carefully shelled nuts for me. He places the piece in my palm, and I see my reflection in his eyes. Just a tiny figure in a wedding dress, with bridal makeup, smiling continuously. Suddenly, I feel a strange sense of unfamiliarity and get lost in thought. It's real, I'm getting married. A moment of emotional vulnerability hits me, like a pinprick in my eyes. But I hold back, stopping the tears from falling. I didn't expect Logan to show up at my wedding, with Alex tagging along. They gave a pretty impressive gift. Rain's parents were quite shocked. Cindy was initially nervous, given Logan's background, afraid he'd cause a scene and spoil the wedding. But throughout, Logan remained polite and composed. chatting easily with anyone who approached him. Even Alex, usually carefree, sat quietly and behaved. The wedding ceremony flowed smoothly, up to the highlight moment, the groom's kiss with his bride. Cheers and whistles filled the air. As Rain walked towards me with the bouquet, the loud cheers faded like a receding tide. Everyone waited to capture the sweetest moment. Logan and Alex were watching from the audience just like everybody else. But while Logan focused on us on stage, Alex kept a wary eye on him, sweating bullets. When Rain embraced me and kissed me, the crowd erupted in cheers again. Almost no one noticed Logan squeezing a glass, so hard it shattered in his hand. Alex almost lost it, frantically trying to pry the broken shards from Logan's grip. "Bro, please, let's get you to the hospital," Alex pleaded, seeing the blood streaming from his palm. He could only wish he was on his knees begging. Logan remained still, emotionless, as he watched the couple on stage kissing passionately amidst all the joy and laughter. It was her happy day, a joyful occasion. He shouldn't bring any negativity to it. Logan always thought himself a rational person. He never allowed anything to slip from his control. Since growing up, he never had a moment of losing it. But now he felt a forlorn gloom he couldn't resist. Not until Alex pulled him to his feet did he feel the sting in his palm. "Big bro, let's get your hand patched up at the hospital." Alex deliberately stepped in to block the view of those around. Logan glanced down, casually wiping away the dripping blood. "Let's go." Alex sighed with relief. As they exited the wedding, laughter erupted from behind. Alex couldn't help but look back. Turns out, the bride had tossed her bouquet, caught by a groomsman who then eagerly gave it to his girlfriend. As he turned back, he thought his eyes met Nancy's. Or maybe it was just his imagination. She was always so ruthless, keeping tie scores. Alex thought, even if she saw Logan's injury, she wouldn't spare him a glance. After all, when they broke up, she was decisive, with quite the parting shot. Logan stayed cold to him for almost half a year. They nearly ceased being brothers. Alex mused wryly. She moved on carefree, leaving a mess behind, nearly giving him a breakdown. He couldn't fathom what kind of spell she cast. Made a cold-hearted Logan into this state. My wedding night with Rain wasn't anything extraordinary. Before him, I only had one relationship, only been with Logan. And Rain hadn't been with anyone for 2 years before me. So our first time was a bit clumsy. Rain held me, softly apologizing. I lifted my head, kissed his cheek. "We're both exhausted. Maybe we can try again tomorrow?" Rain shook his head, rolling over me once more. I raised my arms, closed my eyes, wrapping around his neck. "Nancy." Rain's voice was husky, desire burning in his eyes. Sweat dripped hotly from his forehead, landing on my chest. Each drop seemed to make my heart ache subtly. I could only hold him tighter. "Nancy, shouldn't you be calling me your husband now?" My nails dug deep into the top muscles of his back. 6. After a while I softly murmured, "Honey." The following spring, my dad was critically ill again. Just when he got out of the ICU, I found out I was pregnant. Sitting in the hospital hallway waiting, Cindy sent me a video. Logan got married. To a perfect match from a wealthy family. In the video, Logan held his new wife's hand tightly. He shielded her from the cameras and reporters with a cold expression. I caught a glimpse, but couldn't really see her face. But with her graceful figure and fair skin with dark hair, it was easy to imagine. She must be a stunning beauty. After watching the video, I replied to Cindy. "Seems good, they look well matched." Cindy was typing for a while. I sent another message before she replied. "Cindy, I'm pregnant." She quickly congratulated me. From that point on, Cindy never sent me any more news about Logan, and I never actively looked up anything about him. Until later, when I gave birth to Mai and Rain's daughter. A package was sent from Beijing, but I refused to accept it. Later on, everything from Beijing seemed like it belonged to a past life. When my daughter was 6 months old, my dad passed away. Rain took care of everything, handling almost all of the funeral arrangements. Afterward, he got sick from exhaustion. I stayed by his side day and night until he recovered. Rain looked at my now thinner face, and his eyes turned red with pity. "Nancy." He held my hand, pulling me into his arms. "Do you like me at least a little now?" I looked down at his gentle eyes. They still reflected a tiny version of me. I saw the worry and pain on my face. And I didn't drift away again. I just lightly nodded, "Rain, I do like you." Those were some of the happiest days of our marriage. My feelings for Rain took a big step forward. His parents remained loving and kind. We had no arguments or unpleasantness. Though occasionally, they hinted at wanting us to have a second child. Elders always want grandsons. I understood that. But I didn't want another child. I love my daughter so much. I want to give all my love to her. Rain said he respected my decision. By then his career was going well. He was getting busier, flying all over the world. But he still made time for me and our daughter. He promised he'd never miss any important moment for us. But the last time, just before our daughter's birthday, he broke that promise. Rain boarded a flight that would never be found, that would never land. He was never coming back. Never to return to me and our daughter. I don't remember how many times I passed out from crying. Rain's parents were devastated. In their grief, they blamed me, saying it was because I refused to have a second child. And now Rain's line had ended. But we had a daughter, our Kitty. Wasn't she part of Rain? I didn't want to argue with them. I was dealing with the pain of losing a husband, just as they were dealing with the pain of losing a son. Their pain was surely more than mine. As long as they continued to love Kitty, I wouldn't care about anything else. But I never imagined. 2 months after the accident, Rain's ex-girlfriend suddenly showed up at Rain's home with a 4-year-old boy. She also brought a paternity test report from when the child was born. Not that it even mattered, because this kid looked just like Rain when he was little. The family's attitude took a drastic turn. They didn't want me as a daughter-in-law anymore. Nor did they want Kitty. 10 of me and Kitty aren't as important as one grandson. I took Kitty and left Rain's family. That $1 million card from our wedding, I never spent any of it. Rain's family let me take it, saying it was the end of our ties. While packing, I unexpectedly found the card Logan had given to Cindy to pass on to me when I left Beijing. It was tucked away in the lining of a suitcase. I hadn't touched it since. Even now I put it back where it was. Whether my future is bright or bleak, I'm never getting involved with Logan again. I'll never forget. I'll never forget what he said. "Nancy, wake up, the game is over." 3 months after leaving Rain's family, Cindy was getting married. She invited me to Beijing for her wedding. By then it had been over 3 years since I left Beijing. And those 3 short years felt like a long movie. My feelings for Rain grew complex. Sometimes I felt sad, cried. I thought, if only he was still alive, at least Kitty wouldn't be treated this way. But sometimes, I couldn't help but hate him. Hate that he got his ex-girlfriend pregnant, but didn't take responsibility. That both Kitty and I became a joke. But in the end, I couldn't tell if I missed him more or hated him more. When I arrived in Beijing, Cindy picked me up. She stayed with me that night at the hotel. We both suffered from insomnia. Around 3 in the morning, she couldn't hold it in any longer. "Nancy, he separated from his wife 6 months ago. Honestly, their marriage was never real from the start. His family was pushing, and she had someone else she loved, but was from a lower status. They had an agreement. It was just a contract marriage. Nancy, with Rain's family acting this way, have you thought about settling down in Beijing with your child?" Cindy looked at me nervously. I actually understood everything. David's entrepreneurship was largely due to Logan's help. Cindy and David were forever grateful to Logan. They frequently kept in touch over the years. So Cindy always knew about Logan's news faster than others. I caught the drift of what she was saying. Now I'm a widow and Logan is divorced. 7. There's a chance we might patch things up again. But I'm not going back. Cindy, remember how you used to try to talk sense into me, and I wouldn't listen? I looked at Cindy with a smile. Time has smoothed my rough edges. Yet some things never change. It's the same now. I still won't listen. Nancy. Cindy sighed helplessly. How are you still exactly the same? So stubborn, so strong. Yep, I've always had this stubborn streak. And besides, he's the one who didn't want me first. Someone who doesn't want me, I'll never want them back. Nancy, can't you try to let go? I can't. I close my eyes. Is it too much love or too much hate? Maybe other exes can meet and laugh off their grudges, but I can't. That thorn has been in my flesh my entire life. I can't pull it out. At Cindy's wedding, I ran into Logan. After some small talk, he invited me to spend some time in Beijing with my daughter. I turned him down. I had already booked my tickets to Hainan and wasn't going to change or cancel them. He probably knows how stubborn I am, so he didn't push it. But while vacationing with Kitty and Sonia, I unexpectedly ran into Logan again. Of course, I can't afford a private beach, so I can't prevent him from showing up whenever he wants. Logan didn't pester me, or even talk to me much. Instead, he seemed more interested in Kitty. He enjoyed playing with her, which left me free to relax, so I let it be. Within a few days, the little girl was won over by him, following him like a shadow. But it didn't bother me because we were leaving in 2 days. The night before we returned, when Logan dropped Kitty back, he seemed off. I wanted to call his assistant to take him to the hospital. But Logan stopped me. Nancy, no need for the hospital. Someone probably put something in my drink. Mind if I use your bathroom? Don't you have one in your room? Logan leaned against the wall, opening his eyes with pain. Nancy, look at me. Can I really go out like this? I glanced down. That would indeed be awkward. Fine, go ahead. I took Kitty back inside and got her to sleep. When I came out, it was silent outside. The bathroom was dark and eerily quiet. I went to the door and knocked. No response. I didn't want anything happening to him here, so I pushed open the door. Just as I did, someone grabbed my arm. Logan? I jumped. Nancy, it's me. Logan's voice was hoarse. His palm felt like it was on fire, incredibly hot. Furious, I pushed him hard, but he pinned me to the wall with his body. Nancy, I haven't been with anyone since we broke up. I laughed. What, won a medal for that? He said nothing, probably annoyed. I ignored him and pushed again. But Logan held my wrist. The night of your wedding, I stayed downstairs all night. I scoffed. Won an award for that too? Logan seemed really angry. It was a while before he spoke again. If Kitty needs a dad, she doesn't need one. I cut him off. If she does in the future, I'll think about it. But not you. Nancy, your family is too high up for us. I don't want to put myself and Kitty through that. Logan, if you feel bad, go to a hospital or find another woman. Before I could finish, Logan suddenly kissed me hard. Nancy, I helped you with your kid for 7 days. I've worked hard, right? What do you want? His kiss was rough and urgent, making me both angry and sad. I didn't hold back and slapped him. Accidentally, it landed right on his face. The slap was loud and clear, and both Logan and I were stunned. Someone as proud as him probably has never been hit in his life. That slap wasn't light. It might leave a mark. What do you want from me? Logan once again grabbed my wrist, pressing me against the wall. Nancy, it's been 3 years. Isn't it time to let it go? Let it go. I laughed. Fine, Logan. If you want me to let it go, you have to do something. What? Let's play a game. Just like the one you played with me back then. After a long silence, he spoke, with a gritting tone. All right. I agree. If rain was a gentle pool with occasional ripples, then Logan was fiery lava, a boiling stream. I've only had 2 men in my life, Logan and Rain. But honestly, only Logan gave me the most intense experiences. He wasn't like Rain, who was meticulous, tender, and considerate, always worried about hurting me. Logan always controlled everything. My first man was him. All my experience came from him. No one knows my body like he does, or how to make me feel happy. I still hate him, and inwardly push him away. Yet my body easily gives in under his touch. His hardest place crashes into my softest over and over. At first I sobbed, moaned, and cried. 8. In the end, my throat was hoarse and my tears had dried up. But the clear spring just kept flowing. Logan picked me up. He carried me all the way to the huge floor-to-ceiling window. I could see myself, and I could see him behind me. The difference in our sizes was so great. Yet we fit so well together. Nancy. Logan pressed me against the cold glass. He lowered his head and kissed the side of my neck. The only person who can make you this happy is me. Isn't that right? I refused to answer. But he wasn't in a hurry for a response. He just took me right there by the window again, wearing me out. All those thorns on my body seemed unable to stand up anymore. Nancy, I want you to never be able to leave me. I didn't have the strength to speak. In my heart, I had to admit, he could make me happy. But just like he was towards me in the beginning, Now he was the same to me, just that. After leaving Hainan, I didn't contact Logan. He visited my hometown once, saw me and Kitty, and continued his game with me. After our encounter, on the morning he was flying to Beijing, I was still sleeping soundly. Logan got dressed and returned to the bed. He woke me up. Aren't you going to ask when I'll come back? Too sleepy to open my eyes, I casually asked, when will you come back? Logan didn't answer. He just leaned down and gently kissed me. He didn't reply, and I didn't ask again. After he left, I went back to my routine, working and taking care of the kid. His texts and calls were on my phone, but I would never reach out to him first. I wouldn't keep messaging him like I did years ago. Logan, what are you doing? Logan, are you still busy? Logan, when are you coming back from your trip? Logan, I miss you, can we meet today? Logan, never again. In the years that followed, we kept this kind of relationship. He'd come to my city. Sometimes I'd go to Beijing. More often, he'd chase me around from place to place. When even someone like Alex finally got married, Logan got drunk at the wedding. That night, for the first time, he asked if I wanted to get married. I laughed. How come you're in your 30s getting childish now? Logan leaned against the couch, a drunken look in his eyes as he watched me for a while. He suddenly gave a self-mocking laugh. Maybe seeing Alex getting married stirred something. As I was taking off my makeup, I softly said, you can get married anytime. And we can just end it anytime too. He swayed a bit, stood up, walked over to the dressing table, and hugged me from behind. Is this all we can be? I lifted my hand, holding his long fingers. I don't know about the future, but for now this is it. Logan lowered his head, chuckling softly. He rested his chin on my neck, rubbing his face against mine gently. Okay, I'll listen to you. The moon was big and round that night. We kissed on the terrace, the wind softly blowing past our ears and gently against our faces. Almost like it was softening our hearts too. I sighed inside, gently hugged him. Logan. Yeah, maybe in the future I'll want to get married. Maybe I'll want to have another kid. Maybe I'll still want to spend my life alone. Maybe I'll fall in love with someone else. But all of that is just maybe. And right now, the moon is beautiful, the night is beautiful. Being with you now, it's still happiness. I stood on my toes and kissed his chin. Do you understand? Logan slowly tightened his embrace around me. In his eyes, a very faint smile appeared. You're right. Tonight's moon is beautiful, and so is the night. As for the future, who knows? He might be painfully pondering over it tomorrow, or the day after. But tonight, he decided to let himself off the hook. Right now she was in his arms. So real in his arms. He felt content. The end.